Alright guys, so for tutorial, energy ball, we're going to go backwards. We're going to start from the end all the way to the beginning. So we're going to break apart each effect, why we put it, and why it's there. So if you guys don't like this method and you want me to go the more traditional way where we just, go step by step all the way from the beginning until we have that effect that we want, just comment below and I'll change because it's the type of guy I am. I fall into peer pressure. So I'm going to turn off each effect and I'm going to leave this one on. So this part is this like outer glowing area that we want. We want this boundary for our energy. So we want to know where our constraint is. So we want it in this hand. So the way you do this is by making we make a layer, new solid, and you're going to pick the color that you want, red, blue, green, whatever you want. I'm going to choose this kind of like green, vomit. And you go up here to this masking tool and you're going to go ellipse. And you're going to hold down on shift to make a perfect circle. And you hold down on space while you're holding shift to move your circle around. And you want to put it around where your hand is at. So about right here. So once you have your circle ready, you want to make another circle inside because you want that outside boundary look. So you hold down on shift. Say about right there. And then you're going to go down to your options down here. So on mask 2, you have this add part. We want to subtract that part to only leave this boundary. So we're going to subtract this. And now we have this boundary look that we have here. But it's really sharp, You have this very sharp look. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to this setting. And we're going to start feathering it out here. And as you see, you start seeing the sharpness of the mask start to dissolve into the background. And you can decrease the expansion as well. And we look at the second mask. And so we just dissolved the first mask, which was the whole circle. But you still have this sharp, jagged look for that second mask that you made, which is that inner circle that you subtracted. So likewise, you can feather it out and start dissolving that too. So yeah, you start having this little ring here. So it looks a lot better now. It's not as sharp. So we go back to our original one, and we added 3 effects here. We added a tint, a glow, and a fast blur. Now, if I take all these effects out, you start seeing somewhat this same look that we had originally, except it's a little bit bigger. So turn this on, you see our blue. Turn this on, you start seeing our other solid what we got here. So now this blue solid that we added here, the reason it looks so blurry, it's because of our fast blur that we added here. We wanted this to dissolve just a little bit more, but then a problem arises. We can't see it as well. So because of that, we added a glow effect. We want this to illuminate better. But then another problem arises. Maybe because this look right here that we have, it doesn't match our other effects that we have here. This light blue. So I added a tint effect to just change the color a bit. To add it a little bit more light blue that I wanted. So likewise, you can add a fast blur here. So if we go to effect, blur, sharpen, we go to fast blur, we start amping this up right here. We start getting this dissolve look that we had in our original. Now, here in the blur dimension, maybe you don't want everything to dissolve. Maybe you just want the sides, like horizontal axis. You can do that. So now you have this dissolving, but you still have this solid right here. on the top and the bottom. And you can do the same for the vertical. So you have this dissolve on the top and the bottom, but you have this still like about this solid that you have right here. Then we go back to original. Once you add the fast blur, you use the glow to amp this up. Because without the glow, you start seeing this difference here. You see? And without the tint, you start seeing the change of color here too. So the tint, you originally start with black and white. And then you have the tint amount. Like, how much do you want that color to change? So right here, you just change the color whatever you want. And it'll become that. So maybe later in your composition, you're like, oh, I don't want that blue. Maybe I want green. Okay, maybe I want red, yellow. You can change the color whenever you feel like it. And for the glow, I believe I didn't change anything. I think I changed the intensity. The intensity is just like how bright. It's kind of self-explanatory, but it's how bright is that glow of yours. Radius is just how you really can't see it here, but it's how much of the area is being affected by that glow. And the threshold is, can you see it or can you not? It kind of starts disappearing if you play around with it. So that's for the outside, the boundary part. Now we're going to break apart the red solid that we have here. Now, what we did here is same thing. We went to layer, new, solid, and we added effect here. So you can choose a color here, but again, you can add a tint effect later and change it whenever you feel like it. So let's go with the red. Let's go. I know somebody's favorite color is red out there, so let's just go with the red. And we're gonna add a fractal noise. So here we go. Now, what we have here is this like fog, I guess you could say, and I'm going to go to dynamic progressive just because it looks better. I'm going to invert it. And you can change the contrast. So you start seeing almost like sharper, or like you see the black and the white pop out more. So you start seeing this happen. And, you can change the brightness too a little bit. And what we're going to do in the blending mode, it's kind of important. If you leave it in normal, it's not going to have the color that you want. So if you go to effect, if you screen this, you can start seeing what I'm talking about. It's white here, but if I add a color correction tint, this above this, and we change this to red, you're not going to see red or anything here. So what we want is we want to multiply it, so you start seeing the red that you want to see, and you can change the color whenever you feel like it. So maybe you want blue, green. You start seeing whatever color you want. You can see it now. It blends with the color. So, and you can change the complexity as well. We get a little bit more vivid, I guess. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cut out where our circle's at. So we're going to hold down on shift again to make that perfect circle and start holding space. All right. But when we did this, it doesn't look as, we still have this jagged edge here, and we can feather that out and everything. So we go to mask, we start feathering this out. So it starts blending in. That sharp look goes away. You see that? So now we have a problem here, is that it looks cool and all, but we want to make it just a little bit more, how do you say it, more liquefied, I guess. So what you can do is you can start adding this radial blur here. Start making it turn a little bit to give this. So go to radial blur here. We'll start changing the amount here. And I'm looking a little bit better. And I was wondering why I wasn't doing it right. It's a CC blur effect. So let's go down here. CC radial. So you start changing the amount. You'll rotate. Okay. So you still see the center here, but you start seeing the back kind of get a little bit blurry and look more dissolved. And that's the type of look that we're trying to achieve here. Now, once we have all these three how we want them to be, we can start changing the evolution here. So start animating this. You see? The more we move it, the more it looks animated, like it's actually moving. So what we're going to do here is we're gonna click on our stopwatch here, and every second we're gonna have this multiply by 3. So at 1 second we had it at 3. Move up by 3, and then at 2 seconds we're gonna have it at 6. At 3 seconds we're gonna have it at 9. It's just simple. I don't want to get into expressions or anything like that, but it's just a simple way of animating this as it goes. So we start seeing this little animation here, and it's not as bright as we wanted. So I'm gonna duplicate the layer, Control D, and it's a little bit more bright. So I'm gonna change the color a little bit, maybe to purple, darker purple. Get a hint of that purple. And I think one solid here is good. Yeah. So now what do we want? What we're gonna explain next is practically the second to last part, which is this adjustment layer that we added. So we have our fractal noise here, and we look at our adjustment layer here, and we're gonna practically what an adjustment layer is, that anything underneath it is gonna be affected by it. So what we did here is we added the CC glass effect, which is going to make everything a little bit more liquefied. So if I were to turn this on, you're gonna start seeing that my hand gets this distortion right here. And when you start adding these effects in, you start also getting these distortions here. And you add the boundary, and you start moving it around. You start getting this animated energy ball look here. Now, the last thing we do is we're literally going to duplicate our little boundary that we made here, and we're going to animate it. So we're going to get this pulsating look to get it. See that pulsating look? You might not be able to see it as clearly, but I believe so you start seeing it pulsate. And how you're going to do that is you're going to set position and scale keys. So about right here is where it maxes out the scale and the position. So you're going to change the position just a little bit just to fit the circle. And by scaling, you're going to make this bigger. Then you're going to make it smaller again. Bigger and smaller. So it keeps going up and down, up and down. And the opacity is just to make it visible and then disappear. Visible and then disappear. So you can see this animation with the mask. So if we start here in this little, where you can't see it, and it's very scaled down, and you start seeing it go up, up, up. And like that. And that's pretty much it.